URC Power Rankings, folks. After 17 rounds of the competition, we got one round to go to see who makes the 8. It's going to be a fascinating round with a few teams kind of on shaky ground. But who's in form going into these playoff rounds, and who is potentially maybe going to make it, but maybe not in their kind of top form. Maybe earlier season form was better than late season. We'll go through them bottom to top. You guys can let us know your thoughts. We'll go through the bottom teams first, as always. Zebra, it's another loss. They had a couple of close rounds, but not up against the Bulls. They got hammered. Down in South Africa, that's not really a shock to anyone, so no change for them. Likewise, the Scarlets are no different, although they did have a much different result up against the Ospreys. They had a good game. Like, it was back and forth. I watched that one. Either team could have won that match, but it was the Ospreys who got it done from memory kind of relatively late. So it's inflicted another loss on the Scarlets, lads. I think that's 4 losses in a row for them. Then the Dragons, who suffered again another loss as well, this time to Edinburgh. Edinburgh kind of one of the other struggling sides, although maybe finding a little bit of form. But yeah, for the Dragons, their only recent win is against Zebra. So it's not the kind of most to write home about. Then Benetton, sadly, so both Italian teams in the bottom row. Remember, this is different from the actual table. Benetton is slightly higher. Well, no, they're not. They're 13th on the actual table. I thought they were higher. Jeez, it's been a disappointing season for them, hasn't it? Yeah, my bottom 4 is pretty much the same as the table, except you got the Scarlets and the Dragons the other way around. Jeepers. Yeah, both Italian teams kind of struggling a wee bit. Benetton's got 1 win in their last 4 as well. Even if it was Leinster, still not been a great season for them. I mentioned Edinburgh coming into a little bit of late form. Too little too late for them to make the playoffs, but at least good enough to give the fans something to cheer about. They beat the Dragons away. I think it's 3 wins in a row now. So, yeah, maybe promising signs ahead of next year. Although next season seems like a long way away at this point. Then Ulster, who currently are one of your playoff teams. They are the lowest ranked on the power rankings of the teams currently in the playoffs. Their spot in the playoffs is by no means guaranteed. Their last 3 games, a loss to Leinster, a loss to Munster, a draw with the Stormers, and their last game was against Glasgow. So they certainly saved some tough teams for the end of the season. It's just the way the fixtures have kind of been drawn. So Edinburgh's up 1. Ulster are down 1 in the power rankings with that draw. I didn't really punish them for the draw, but it's hard to give a heck of a lot of credit for kind of not winning, isn't it? So, yeah, it could have been worse. It's still 2 points that they picked up in that one. Then Cardiff, I've got in 10th. They are another one of your playoff teams. They're in 7th on the table. I've got them a bit lower. They have 2 wins in their last 5, and their 2 wins are over the Ospreys and the Scarlets. So nobody kind of in the top 8. The scalps that they have claimed in recent times. And speaking of the Ospreys, I got them in 9th, even though they're not going to make the playoffs. The Ospreys, they beat the Scarlets, lads. So, yeah, that's always it's a battle out in West Wales to see Ospreys take on the Scarlets. But, yeah, 7 wins, 8 losses, and 2 draws for the Ospreys. It's just not quite, like if they win their last game, they finish with a kind of even spread, don't they? Across the course of the season, which rightly so probably shouldn't be enough to make the playoffs. You want teams who've got a positive record to be in the top 8. Then the Sharks, who aren't going to make the playoffs either, but they have a better recent record than some of the teams around them. They have got a 2-loss run broken now. So at least that is something. They got a big win at home over Benetton, so they're up a few spots. Although they're really up and down side, so it's hard to get too much of a gauge on them. Then Munster, who are also in the playoffs. Munster are 6th on the table. I've got them 7th on the power rankings. 2 wins in their last 5 as well. They lost against Connacht, which was kind of an arm wrestle game, but Connacht were genuinely just better than them throughout the course of the game. I know Munster were missing some players and whatnot, but still, 7 points they scored in that game over in Galway. Tough. And then I got 2 teams in 5 and 6, which really, really differ from the table. I got the Stormers in 6th. They're 2nd on the table. they're down a spot with the draw to Ulster. They've had a loss to Connacht, a win over Glasgow, and now a draw against Ulster. So it's like one win in your last 3. There are teams out there who've got a better recent record than the Stormers. I mean, their match against Ulster was a cracker. Really, really back and forth. I watched that one delayed, but not knowing who won it. And it was looking like both teams were going to win it at some points, but they ended up in a draw with that penalty try. So crazy stuff in that one for the Stormers. And then Glasgow, likewise. First place on the table. I got them in 5th. How does that happen? They're up 1. They're up 1 with their win over Cardiff. You don't get the biggest boost for beating Cardiff, although they did beat them by, a pretty substantial amount. Maybe that's going to kickstart them ahead of the playoffs, but it kind of at least wipes out that 2-loss run that they had over down in South Africa. So recent form-wise, again, there are teams looking sharper than Glasgow, but I hope Glasgow get back to the ways earlier on in the season. Then Connacht, who are genuinely one of the form sides. They are outside of the playoffs with 1 round to go. They were in 9th, but that win over Munster makes it like 7 from their last 8. 7 from their last 8. Connacht were dead and buried, so to be even in with a chance is a minor miracle in itself. They've had some big, big results. I swear, I said this in the match review for their game as well against Munster. Nobody's going to want to play. Like, if they do sneak into like 8th spot, I swear, whoever finishes first is not going to want to draw Connacht. You'd almost rather get whichever spot doesn't face Connacht, because Connacht's just in good form. There are other teams who might scrape into the playoffs, the likes of an Ulster or a Munster or a Cardiff or something, who I genuinely think right now don't look as big a threat as Connacht. But we'll see. There's still 1 round to go. Connacht might not make it. Leinster, I got Leinster in 3rd. They had the high-flying Lions come to town, and they beat them. I watched that game as well. They obviously took a wee while to really push the scoreline out, but they managed to do it across the 80. So Leinster with Champions Cup still on their mind as well. Need to make sure they don't lose focus on the URC. But to beat an informed team, they're up a spot. So Connacht's up 1, Leinster's up 1, Glasgow's up 1. All these teams getting wins are still going up. The Lions, though, are on the way down. They were first in the power rankings for a couple of weeks with their magnificent run. Their, 6-game winning run is now broken away at Leinster. It was always going to be tough on the road for their final 2 matches, but they're still 5th on the table. They're still looking pretty good, the Lions. They got 1 game to go. I think they should make the playoffs. They're in the best spot. I think it would take a mathematical miracle for them not to make it. Have they made it securely? I'm pretty sure not quite, but yeah, the Lions. It's been a good season compared to some recent ones. And the Bulls are up 1. Up 1 in the power rankings into 1st spot. It wasn't that long ago that the sacking of Jake White was looking like a terrible decision, and Ackerman, wasn't the right guy, and the problems ran deeper than just the coach and whatnot. But man, 5 wins in a row, and they only beat Zebre. They walloped them, so it wasn't exactly the toughest opponent coming to town, but 5 wins in a row is not just Zebre. That's a collection of results, and just their latter half of the season has genuinely been pretty good. They are 4th on the table now, after kind of floating around 8th and 7th and whatnot for quite some time. It's a very, very encouraging run from the Bulls. 2 South African teams and 2 Irish teams in the top 4. Then Glasgow making out the other kind of non-Irish and South African team. It's all very South African and Irish top heavy, isn't it? But anyway, you guys let us know your thoughts on the power rankings. How would you have them? Who are the form teams for you heading into the 8? Would you want to avoid Connacht? Are they the kind of dark horse team at the moment? Or do you think this do or die run they've been on is going to cost them? You can only kind of keep it up for so long. You guys let me know your thoughts. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.